Joined by Chris after a disappointing defeat on the road. Just firstly, give me your assessment of what you saw today.
Not a lot of positives to kind of come out of that, mate, to be honest. Obviously, we've had the journey back, but so I've had a bit of time to think about what might be asked and what I might say. I think definitely the worst performance from us since I've come in, which is disappointing because that was a game that we needed to do the exact opposite in. First 45 minutes, just playing, looked like there was a lot of fear. Nothing that we've been working on in the week had been applied, and we've given away again 2 very, very soft goals. The makers of our own downfall, I think. Seems to be a bit of a repeating pattern. So, it's a tough one to kind of, I won't accept it. It's a tough one to kind of process. That's going to take a lot of thinking about how we kind of come back from this. What do we do differently? How can we turn the corner? Because we have to. Stood in front of you last week saying, every game is more important. Drop points mean that the next one's even more important. That was against a direct rival, for the drops. So they're now 6 points clear. So the gap's getting bigger, and the game's running out. So it's just one of those. We're just gonna have to see if we can turn this around. I've asked the girls to have a think. Hopefully they do. I think we've got to do a lot of things differently now, because the game's not getting any easier. Hensford at home next week, that'll be a tough one. I know they've lost today, but they're a good football team, and they're tough and they're strong, and they'll capitalise. And if we're giving away the chances that we're giving away, we're not even really going to make it, an overly difficult game for them. So, big reaction needed, basically.
And how do you sort of, I get this is going to be a really tough situation to be in, obviously, because League have also won today. So how do you sort of keep the girls motivated? Because there is still a chance. There's still quite a few games to go.
Yeah, of course.
And you've just got to try and keep believing, I suppose.
We've said it there. There's a chance. So as long as there's a chance, then the fight's there, and we've got to have the belief, and we will. So there'll be no giving up by any stretch. And I knew it would be a tough tall order for us to kind of get out of this when I came in. We were sort of cut adrift already. We've improved a lot. Behind the scenes, we've done a lot of work. The playing staff, we've done a lot of work. And we've got some more good stuff on the playing side coming down the track. So, I knew that it would be a tough gig. The expectation that I had coming in was we have to stay up, but I knew there was a possibility that it might not happen. We're not there yet, not by a long stretch, and we're not going to be having defeatist talk. But we will just be in a position where no matter what, we'll if the worst does happen, we'll be in a strong position to come straight back up. That'll be the aim. But we've got plenty of games left. It's February, so season finishes in May. So in terms of your question about how do we keep them motivated, well, they've got to have that motivation and the drive themselves. We'll just keep working, keep trying to instill the belief, keep trying to give them that sort of platform to play the way that we know that they can, and maybe they'll just shake off some of the fear that's floating around. Like you say, it's a young squad, so the pressure situations probably do have a bit of more of an impact. So we'll think about how we can help them with that. But at the end of the day, though, if we play with fear, the worst, what you're worried about won't happen. So we've got to find a way of kind of fixing that and maybe free the shackles up a little bit, because there's no question the talent's there. If your question or follow-up question is, do you think we can stay up? Can we get the points? Yeah, we can. Even with the games that we've got left, but we've got to get out of this mental block that we've got at the moment. So that's the challenge.
And moving on to your next challenge, obviously you've already mentioned you've got Hensford. You've also got a few more games behind that one, but obviously next week is the key one. So how do you sort of bounce back and look for that reaction? What do the girls need to do differently to what they did today?
Everything. No, but in all seriousness, we've got to show a little bit more steel and a little bit more determination. And it's hard enough playing teams in this league but we're making such easy mistakes, and we've got to cut those out of our game. We have to do better at defending set pieces, and if we are struggling to defend set pieces, we have to stop giving so many away. So we'll look at how we address those kind of situations and scenarios, because if we could handle those situations better, we're probably talking about 4 points from the last 2 games instead of 1, or maybe even 6. You never know. Certainly would have won last week if we could defend set pieces, and again today we've given away another goal from a corner. And we are making mistakes, so we've got to cut those out. And if we do that, you've got half a chance of getting a result out of a game. And that's all we've got to think about now. Is Hensford is the next game. They're a good team. They're a strong team. We've played them before. It's an advantage for me. It's one of the teams that I've actually been in charge of for the away games, so I know a bit about them. And we'll plan properly, and it will be about getting something from that game. And then we move on to the next one. There's no point in looking too far ahead at the moment. We've got to focus on the game that is coming up, and we've got a big week ahead, and we need everybody really to kind of want things to be better. So that's what we'll be working towards.